Hello, Theodore Shoebat here, giving you guys another message that you will not hear at church. I guarantee that Russia is shipping tanks into Syria in the first sign of offensive weapons. That's right, they're actually sending tanks into Syria. And according to the report that just came out today, Russia's military buildup in Syria has grown to include the shipment of a half-dozen highly sophisticated battle tanks and more troops, a defensive official told Fox News, what the source called the first clear sign of offensive weapons arriving in Syria. The Pentagon has now tracked a total of 15 Russian Antonov 124 Condor flights into Syria, reflecting a steady stream of military cargo into Syria. According to the latest intelligence, this also includes the arrival of 2 more Russian cargo ships containing the tanks. Up to this point, according to the official, the Russian cargo and weapons that have been delivered to Syria could be viewed as defensive in nature. The arrival of tanks cannot be viewed this way. The official said that Russian offensive operations could launch from Bashar al-Assad International Airport very soon. The massive Condor flights carrying all kinds of supplies now arrive twice a day through Iran and Iraq into Bashar al-Assad International Airport outside the port city of Latakia. The cargo is for Russian soldiers, not Syrian government forces. Now this is very, very interesting. It's not scary. And I know a lot of the blowhards out there are going to come in front of their cameras and they're going to be writing their articles saying, oh my goodness, the Russian Antichrist is rising, Gog and Magog is here amongst us. And you're probably going to be hearing about some bullcrap conspiracy theories of, oh, how Russian ships are on the coast of Texas right now. They're landing in Houston. Pretty soon you're going to have Russian soldiers eating barbecue. Eating barbecue in the wonderful city, the wonderful American city of Lubbock. And I've been to Lubbock, believe me, you're not missing much. And you're going to hear all of the hysteria. And they're all going to be terrified, talking about how Russia's taking over the world. You're going to have morons like Joel Rosenberg and Glenn Beck and all these other schmucks coming over saying, Russia, the Antichrist, Putin, he must be the Antichrist. Oh my gosh! Well, if it wasn't that guy in Greece, who was the prime minister over there in Greece, he was an atheist. If he's not the Antichrist, we were all saying that Greece was the Antichrist nation, and now it looks like that Russia is going to be the Antichrist because they're taking over Syria and they're sending in their tanks, so they must be the Antichrist. And Meshek sure as hell sounds a lot like Moscow. Oh yes, Tiffany, absolutely. Oh yes, it sounds a lot like Moscow, and they're just going to be fueling in all of your crazy paranoias that have been going on in America for a very, very long time. And I'm just not buying it. It doesn't worry me that Russia is sending in tanks. I don't really give a crap if Russia takes over the Middle East. It doesn't bother me. Why doesn't it bother me? Because Russia has a Christian aspiration. Sure, there's corruption. Sure, Putin was a KGB agent, but who cares? George Bush Sr. was a CIA agent. Obama is a Muslim Brotherhood agent. I'd rather have a KGB agent taking over the Middle East than some crazy skull and bones president who worships a giant owl somewhere in California, some gay orgy-infested forest somewhere in the state of California. Doesn't bother me at all. I'd rather have a guy who goes to the Orthodox Church and lights a candle than some Muslim guy who goes into a mosque somewhere in Turkey and praises the Islamic religion and has some bullcrap Ramadan dinners. And Putin is an Orthodox Christian. And just this month, El Arabiya published a very interesting article that was written by Dr. Theodore Shoebat. We have the same name. And this is what Shoebat said about the reason why Russia is in Syria. Quote, the Kremlin sees Syria as part of the Russia... let me read this to you again. The Kremlin sees Syria as part of Russia's sphere of influence and is keen on maintaining its place on the world stage and in the Middle East. In addition, the Russian Orthodox Church, which is closely tied to the Kremlin, sees involvement in Syria as necessary to protect Christians from the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, and other extremists. This is amazing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful that a Christian nation is working with the church to send in the force of the temporal sword of the church, the military, into Syria to protect Christians from the heretic iconoclasts known as Muslims, and specifically the Muslims who are part of ISIS and al-Nusra and the FSA and all these other crazy apocalyptic sects. That's all they really are. And we're seeing history repeating itself. We really are. We look at England, we look at other countries like America, and then we look at nations like Russia, and we see history repeating itself. In the Renaissance era, in the 16th century, there was a great battle. I believe it was in 1570 something. I don't remember exactly the date, but it was called the Battle of Lepanto. And the Catholics, the Italians and the Spaniards, fought the Ottoman Turks. They fought the Ottoman Turks, but who sided with the Ottoman Turks? The Lutherans, the Germans. And now we're seeing multitudes of these refugees coming in by the hundreds of thousands. Multitudes, entire multitudes of refugees who we know for a fact have ISIS agents amongst them. And they are just flooding the West. Who is taking them in the most? The Lutherans, the Germans. Just like the Germans helped the Turks. England also helped the Turks. They provided tin. Not only that, but the Calvinists, the Huguenots, provided weapons to the Muslims in Spain during the Morisco revolt in the 16th century, in the early 16th century. And the Calvinists were sending in weapons to the Muslims so they could help fight the Spaniards. And so we see the Germans helping the Islamic invasion of Europe. This is an invasion. They are assisting the Islamic invasion of Europe by allowing these refugees in. And now you have America. You have Obama saying, well, we're going to take in 70,000. Initially, well, currently they're going to be taking in 10,000, but they're planning on taking 70,000. And then you have John Kerry saying that, well, we need to take 100,000 plus of these refugees into America. So we have the heretics. We have the heretics assisting other heretics. Muslims are heretics. And Islam is nothing more than a Protestant sect. That's all it is. It is a pre-Reformation Protestant sect. And I know the mainstream Protestants of today, they just love talking about the pre-Reformation Protestants. Oh, you know, those good people who had their little Bible studies in the forest somewhere, just hiding from those evil Catholics who were trying to hunt them down because they were reading the Word of God. All those beautiful pre-Reformation groups. You have the Hussites and the Albigensians and the Bogomils and the Cathars, and you have the Lollards and other groups, the Waldensians, these poor, innocent little pre-Reformation Protestants who were horrifically gunned down and persecuted by the diabolical Inquisition. And if we are going to include the Bogomils and the Cathars and the Albigensians and the Lollards, if we are going to continue to classify and categorize these groups as pre-Reformation Protestants, then we must conclude that Muslims are pre-Reformation Protestants. The Muslims are actually more Protestant than the Protestants of the Reformation. They really are. Unlike the other Protestants who simply wrote against Rome and said that Rome was the harlot of Babylon, the Muslims believed, and they still believe, that the Catholic Church in Rome and the Eastern Orthodox Church, these are simply institutions of the shaitan, of Satan, and we are going to invade them and destroy them. And the Muslims invaded Rome in the 9th century, and they tried to destroy Rome. The Muslims also tried to invade Rome during the Reconquista in the Middle Ages, in the late Middle Ages. Mehmet II wanted to invade Rome and said that I will use the Church of St. Peter as to put in my horse stables, and so that my horses can feed in the Church of St. Peter in Vatican Square. So that most definitely, and the Bogomils were people who just said that the crucifixion was an illusion. Same thing with the Cathars. Same thing with the Albigensians. And the Lollards were people who worshipped Satan. Same thing with the Waldensians. They believed that Satan was the good guy, that he was wrongfully slandered as the enemy, and Michael the Archangel was the real bad guy. He was the real evildoer. These were all Gnostic sects, and the Muslims believed the same thing. They believed that the jinn, the demons, when they were thrown out, they didn't really know why they were thrown out, and they were confused, and they heard the wonderful Quran, and they converted to Islam, and so the demons are now the good guys in the Islamic religion. And also, just like the Bogomils and the other Albigensians and the other Gnostic groups, Manichaean groups, the Muslims also believe that the cross is an illusion, which makes them Gnostic. So 100% Islam is a Gnostic religion, and it is also an anti-Catholic religion, and therefore it is a Gnostic pre-Reformation Protestant sect. That's all Islam is. And so you have the Protestant nation of Germany. That's where the Reformation began, you know, the great pilgrimage site of Germany. They're supporting the Muslims. They're supporting the Turks. In fact, there was a conference a few years ago in which Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, he wants to revive the Ottoman Empire. He had a conference declaring that Turkey was one day going to be a great empire. He came into the conference dressed up in white as Alp Arslan, declaring the speech of Alp Arslan, which is, I am not coming here to you as a sultan or as one who is superior to you. I am coming to you as a fellow Ghazi, a fellow Muslim warrior, and we are going to fight against the enemies of Allah, and etc. And he said that speech when? In the Battle of Manzikert, in the year, I believe, 1073, when the Turks, the Seljuk Turks, under the Sultan Alp Arslan, defeated the Christians and enabled the Muslims to invade the majority of Greek Asia Minor, which was the center of the Eastern Roman Empire, at that time. And guess what religion the Greeks were? They were Eastern Orthodox. They were Catholic. They were part of the Catholic Universal Church. And then you also have the Battle of Belgrade in the year 1453. After the Muslims invaded Constantinople, the great Pope Calixtus III sent an army that was attended by the wonderful St. John Capistrano, who, like Moses, came with a staff that was a very long crucifix and raised the crucifix up in the middle of the battle, emulating Moses. And as long as that crucifix was up, the Christians were victorious against the Turks in the Battle of Belgrade. Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, united together to fight against the Protestant Muslims. And who helped the Turks at that time but the Lutherans? Because when the Turks were trying to conquer Belgrade at one point in time, not in this battle, but another point of time, the Germans were asked to help fight the Turks. And it was the Lutheran members of the German parliament who hindered the deployment of German troops to help the Eastern Orthodox Serbs. Why? Because the Muslims, according to Luther, were the scourge of God, and we can't hinder the plan of God. Oh no, not at all. So we're seeing history repeat itself. We're seeing the Eastern Orthodox going into Syria in a beautiful crusade for the church to fight for their Christian brethren, and we see the Germans helping the Turks. And in that speech in which Erdogan declared that Turkey was going to be a great empire, there was not a single European nation being represented in this conference except one, Germany, the Lutheran nation. So we see history repeating itself. We see the Russians doing a crusade in Syria. We see the German Lutherans helping the Muslims. We see the Americans, the heretics who are ruling America, helping the Muslims. And we see the Eastern Orthodox, to a certain extent, working with the Roman Catholics to help their Christian brethren in Syria. I want to play to you guys a video that was filmed, I want to say about 2 years ago in 2013. And it is a video interview that was done by Russian television of the Metropolitan Hilarion of Volokolamsk. And he is speaking of how the Russian Orthodox Church is working with the Roman Catholic Church to help their Christian brethren. This was happening 2 years ago, so it looks like this deployment of Russian military personnel into Syria, this was a work in the making that was done years in advance, and it appears to be that the Russian Orthodox Church worked with the Roman Catholic Church in this great and holy enterprise. I'm going to play you guys the interview. Play the clip.
I raised the important question of the situation of Christians in the Middle East and in other regions of the world where they are persecuted. I believe that this is the issue which is constantly marginalized or ignored by the Western mass media. It is largely ignored by the international organizations, while we are dealing with a huge humanitarian tragedy unfolding before our eyes, and nobody really takes care about it. So I wanted to raise my voice as not my personal voice, but the voice of the Russian Orthodox Church in defense of our Christian brothers and sisters who are suffering in different parts of the world. I was present at the meeting in the Vatican which made a decision about sending a delegation to Syria. It was a meeting of the Synod of Bishops of the Roman Catholic Church, in which I took part as an observer from the Russian Orthodox Church. And I spoke at this meeting in particular about the situation of Christians and about the situation in Syria. And I think it was a timely decision on behalf of the Roman Catholic Church to send a delegation as an expression of support and solidarity with the Syrian people. The Russian Orthodox Church is equally concerned about the situation in Syria. Everybody understands that if the events in Syria unfold according to the Libyan or Iraqi scenario, then the first victims will be the Christians. My personal opinion is that the current international way of dealing with the Syrian issue leads Syria nowhere, because you have to be involved in the dialogue with all parties involved in the conflict. Now, as I see, nobody wants to be in a dialogue with President Assad, and he is at least one of the parties in the conflict. So if there is no dialogue, and the only solution that is being envisaged is the revolution, the scenario which was already employed in several other countries of the so-called Arab Spring, then I think we will be dealing with a huge humanitarian catastrophe, which already is existing now.
And the interview shows that the Russian Orthodox Church was working on this. They're behind this. And they're Catholic. The Russian Orthodox Church is Catholic. I don't like saying, well, the Romans, those are the Catholics, Russians, those are just Eastern Orthodox. No, they're both Catholic. Yes, they split, but they both have the same sacraments. They both have the same priesthood. They both have holy water and confessionals and the Eucharist and priests and bishops. They all have this. They're all part of the Catholic faith, regardless of the fact that they are indeed broken up. And one of the great things that I would love to see, and I believe this is going to happen, is the unification of the Eastern and Roman churches. This would be the most beautiful thing to have happened in Christendom, probably in centuries. And I believe this is going to happen. It may happen through a council, and there may be a council in the future that will assist in this, but I believe what will really solidify the unification is war. Because even after the East-West Schism, what did you have happen in the year in the 1090s? I don't remember the exact year. I think it was in 1098. you had the Eastern Orthodox Christians requesting from the Western Roman Catholic Church military assistance. That's what commenced the First Crusade. And the Eastern Orthodox Christians, when the First Crusades came in, they loved the Crusaders. They sold them as heroes. They sold them as defenders. There's several accounts of Armenian Christians and Syrian Christians even assisting the Roman Catholic Crusaders. And one of the greatest examples also is what happened in the Battle of Belgrade in 1453. The defense of Belgrade from the Turks was not done solely by Eastern Orthodox Christians. It was done. By cooperation between the Roman Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox. Pope Calixtus III declared a crusade in Belgrade, and tens of thousands of Roman Catholic troops, entered Belgrade, and Serbian Eastern Orthodox Christians and Roman Catholics from Western Europe united together to fight the heretic enemy, the Muslims, the Antichrist heretical enemy called the Muslims. And I can guarantee you there was no argument when the Turks were approaching the Christians. I can guarantee you there was no arguing between Eastern Christians and Roman Christians. But you guys added the filioque. Oh, you guys did this, and oh, you guys did that, and you guys broke up. No, you guys broke up. No, you started the Great Schism. No, you started the Great Schism. I guarantee you there was none of this type of argument going on. They united together as Christians under the banner of the cross, and that's exactly what we're seeing in Russia. Russian Orthodox Christians defending their Christian brethren. That's exactly what we're going to be seeing in the future. Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, uniting together under the banner of the cross. This is Theodore Shoebat. Hope you guys have enjoyed this message, and hope you guys have learned something from this message. You just heard some theology. God bless, and God be with us.